So we're 5 episodes into Supergirl at this point, and I'm really liking the direction that this season is going in. I said in the last two reviews how episodes 3 and 4 being good might have just been a fluke, but this was the third episode in a row that was actually really good and enjoyable. So yeah, so spoilers for the episode from this point on. So this episode had a bunch of different plot lines working together. We have the new person in charge of the DEO coming in to look over Alex and all that while she's doing her stuff. Then we had obviously Jensen becoming Parasite, the Superman villain. We had another bunch of stuff about James being Guardian or James not being Guardian. And we had a kind of a detective side plotline that, while I did think was just going to be a mystery of the week type deal, as it was kind of a detective story, it did end up giving us a huge development for J'onn J'onzz. And that's something I want to touch on first, because this is something that I feel like a lot of people might have missed. But so the detective story was cool, and I didn't really know this was the direction they were taking J'onn in when he started the season outside the DEO. I just assumed, yeah, we'd just get Mystery of the Week kind of stuff with him. But no, the end of the episode, he becomes essentially a detective, and he puts on a hat like his comic book self wears. In the comics, J'onn J'onzz his human identity is that sometimes he's a cop or a police officer. In Smallville, he's a police officer / detective. But most of the time, he's just a straight up detective, and he wears a hat and all that. And that was what his storyline ended with, was him more becoming that comic book character. And that was crazy. I didn't think we'd ever get to see that on this show. But when he put on the hat, I instantly was like, oh my god, they're actually doing this. All we need now is for him to say that he loves chocolate Oreos or Chocos, and then that's it. We basically have the most comic accurate Martian Manhunter we've had in live action. So that was great. I want to talk about Agent Liberty as well, because his story is still a crazy highlight. It's just his entire story this episode, Benjamin Lockwood, was trying to get James Olsen on his side, or trying to get Guardian on his side, and it was great seeing him manipulate James into being Guardian again in front of the group of people. But on top of that, the way the episode ended with James actually calling up Ben makes me think that we might get some kind of a storyline with James and Ben not really working together per se, but more so just helping each other when it suits the other one. And I really like the direction that that's going in. I really hope they build on that more. I hope it's not like Arrow, where I got really excited for the Brick and Oliver dynamic and then they threw it away in one episode. I hope this is a thing that doesn't just get thrown away next episode. I hope this is a thing we build on a little bit until it comes to a head, maybe with James being on the other side of the battle and needing to decide where his loyalty lies, or something great like that. But speaking of James though, besides the storyline that tied in with Agent Liberty, the only other part of the story was that he didn't want to be Guardian, but he was manipulated into doing it. I still kind of feel like we need to get out of this storyline. James is the hero Guardian. That's great. Can we do something with him that doesn't involve just Guardian, him being Guardian or him not being Guardian, or people hating him for being Guardian? Like, we did get a little bit more with him this episode with Ben, and I like that. I want to keep moving on that. I don't want to keep moving on him deciding whether he wants to be Guardian or whether he's not being Guardian, because every time we go back to that storyline, it feels like a step backwards for his character. Just decide if he's going to be Guardian or if he's not, and then just move on from there. Okay, don't keep flip-flopping back and forth with it. Another small down point was Nia, again, like last episode. She showed up at the very start of the episode, and I was like, okay, well, since she's showing up at the start, she's obviously going to play a pretty big role in this episode, and we're going to actually get some progression on her storyline. I did like her interactions with Brainiac at the start of the episode, with Brainy saying that she told him to find him, or to find her, not call her. That was really great. But besides that, she didn't do much. She went to one of the reporter things with Kara, and I think she did one other thing towards the end of the episode, and that was it. This show seems to have a thing about they can't have every character doing something at once. They still don't know how to juggle all of the characters having a separate storyline in an episode, so a lot of the time characters get shuffled into the background and are kind of just there to fill a quota, which kind of sucks. But I mean, I can see where it could be hard to have a show with this many characters. I can see how it can be hard to have everyone doing something that's actually useful to the plot. But when you have a new character like Nia, I think she should be getting priority over some of the other characters. Moving on to the DEO plot with Alex and the new person in charge, who's Haley. The way they were talking about her at the start of the episode, and the way the last episode ended with her coming in, I assumed she was going to be like the hard ass, no one likes her, kind of just the person when she's on screen you're like, oh, not this girl again. She was actually pretty alright. I thought she was kind of helpful for most of the episode. She seemed to be very lenient and give leeway with Supergirl, with Alex, with all of that. She seemed to be pretty hands-off in those situations. Yes, at the end of the episode she did get more strict, and she was trying to turn the DEO into a much more normal military branch of the government, essentially, where she's getting everybody to salute. And we did get revealed that she's the one who got Jean taken off the DEO, or well, she asked to get Jean removed from the DEO. That all is a little bit much, but at the same time, I mean, she can't just come in and just sit in the background. She has to do something, and I guess trying to turn this into a more militarized kind of branch of the government is an alright direction for her character to take. At least it means she's doing something and she's not just being friendly to everyone. But I mean, I think they found a nice little patch of ground there in the middle, where she's not too much of a horrible person, she's not too much of a person that you can't stand when she's on screen, but she's also not too easy on everybody. She seems to be a nice little middle ground there, where she's doing what she needs to do, and I'm liking the character already. Amadeus was the guy who most of the mystery of the episode was centered around. He lost his amulet, and we need to find that, and then it turned out that his daughter, or who he'd never supposedly met, but then it turned out he did meet, that was all tied into it. I didn't find that very interesting. I thought that really that could have been anybody, and I wouldn't have really cared otherwise. But I guess it did help us move onto Jean's comic book story, so I'm pretty cool with it for that. Talking about Jensen as Parasite, he wasn't too interesting, but I did love how Agent Liberty really wanted to help him. He didn't want Jensen to die, so he kept helping him. He was like, humans won't fail humans. That was great, and it gives another side to his character that I really hope they build on, is that he's not just a bad guy for the sake of being bad guys. He really does care for humans, his friends, and all that. And if you're good with him, and if you're not an alien, he's not just gonna leave you to the wolves, essentially. I think that's interesting, and a development I hope they build on. And then we also got the revelation that there's a group called the Children of Liberty out there that apparently a 40-year-old woman found on the dark web, and this is something that these shows do a lot, is that every character seems to have access to the dark web. How? But yeah, the special effects for this episode were actually not too bad. The last fight scene with Guardian, Supergirl, and Alex against Parasite, that all looked really good. And when Parasite and Supergirl first fight, and Parasite's trying to blow through her cape, that was really good. And when he kind of touches Supergirl and like she starts losing a lot of what was it? Where she's just getting affected by the radiation. The effects on that looked really good. But I think I'll leave it for there, because I've kind of touched on everything. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was better than last week's, but a little worse than the Agent Liberty episode. So I would give it I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think it was probably, some parts of the episode were definitely on par with the Agent Liberty origin episode, other parts weren't. But overall, I think it's an 8 out of 10. But thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you, and have a great day.